So in the last class, just I was discussing about some web terminologies and what is a web terminologies, like what is a web page, what is a website, what is a web application, web browser and web server, right? Okay. So www, please be in mute, everyone. www is a service of internet. So HTML is the major language for this. So web page means it is bringing all together that text, images, audio, video, hyperlinks into one place. The starting point is known as a home page, and we have got every web page is identified by a URL. URL has got two parts. The first one is protocol that we are using, domain name, right? Website is a group of interlinked web pages. We'll have multiple web pages, right? Like registration page, login page, services page, right? We'll be having multiple pages if you go through in any website. So generally websites used for, okay. Safiuddin, please don't, you're not supposed to write anything on the screen. Safiuddin. Okay. Disable this.
Sir, disable invitation.
Helps you to achieve your business goals, branding your business, and allows to increase your customer support. Web application, okay, which runs on a web server and uses a web browser. Generally, we give request in the web browser. Web server gives the response, right? So generally here, web application and website. Interaction with the end user, web application. Website means there won't be any kind of interaction, right? But static content will be there, just will be accessing it, will be just getting some kind of information about a particular product or something like but here user interaction, user not only reads but also modifies. In the case of web application, in the case of website, no modification is allowed, but here in web application compulsory authentication is required. Until you provide that user, that is login and password, you cannot log. Okay, website, no authentication required. Fine. And what is a web framework? It is a code library which helps you to build, right? It's a code library, okay, which helps you to build a flexible web application. What is a web framework? Okay, code library which helps you to build. And what is, so we have got many frameworks for Python, right? Flask, Pyramid, Bottle, and why DJANGO and key advantages. Okay, history of DJANGO, that company is using DJANGO, that what we have discussed in the last session, right? Okay, continuation to that, right? Generally what happens internally whenever we give any request, right? Whenever we give any request, right? Just observe this diagram once. And before I go, you need to be clear with front-end technologies and back-end technologies, right? What do you mean by front-end and what do you mean by back-end? Front-end and back-end. Front-end and back-end. Front-end means generally like some kind of presentation. We will see whenever we open any kind of website, right? For designing, for presenting, okay? Like technologies like HTML, front-end technologies, we can say like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap, okay? And in this way, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap, right? Okay. So if you talk about this backend, right? Backend, like language and framework. We'll see like language and framework. And database. Generally what we say, what we talk like whenever we say like backend, the language, framework, and database. So what is the backend, right? Generally, for example, Python, DJANGO, that is a framework, and the database, right? Anything Oracle or MySQL database, right? Backend. Python, DJANGO, and MySQL, or Python Flask framework, MySQL. The same way, if you take a language like Java and its framework and its database. For example, for Java, we have got like frameworks like Spring, Struts, JSF, right? And the database. Take Python, Django is there, Flask is there, most famous is Django. First, you need to understand this front end. What is the front end, back end, right? And database like MySQL is mostly used, Oracle is mostly used, SQL Server is mostly used. Okay. Generally, if you discuss about any web application, interactive web application, these three are compulsory, right? Generally, framework, 70% of the work is done by the framework. So here in Python, see this, Python, we see like MVT architecture, MVT architecture. What is that? M model. V means view. Later I'll discuss in brief about this, but just I'll give an overview as of now. Template, right? Model means model view template. So I like in a manner I can say like it's a kind of database view, like Python functional views or class views. Templates, right? Like HTML, CSS, Bootstrap. So at the interaction between these three MVT, right? MVT architecture, interaction between this database, Python, and this front-end technologies, right? First, you will design a page, static web page, right? Within the static web page, whenever you enter any details, the details need to be taken and stored in the database. That is taken care by Python. So business logic, everything will be written in Python. Okay. If you are presenting a web page for any, for example, any organization, for any, okay, first a statistic, you will just present a web page first. Any details, if you are entering that, the details need to be stored in the backend database. And business logic, whatever you want, right, you will be implementing in Python. Okay. So here, if I talk like front end, HTML is the major language, right? For any web page, HTML is mandatory, compulsory, right? So here, okay, in HTML, static content, there won't be any dynamic, like only static content, static message. Okay, the same response. And CSS means, CSS indicates we are adding some kind of styles. HTML, okay, you're just presenting the data. CSS, if you want to add some kind of styles to that. JavaScript means some kind of interactive or dynamic I want. HTML is static, using JavaScript, dynamic I want. For example, in JavaScript, In the case of static, the same message, for example, in HTML, same message, always the same message you are going to get. For example, if it is returning any message. In JavaScript, depending upon the person to person, different message need to be. You should provide some, for example, the response is going to be varied. Everyone won't be getting the same message, right? Same response, same output. HTML, for example, always you may get the static, there won't be any dynamic, the same thing. For example, HTML example, if I take HTML and JavaScript, right? If I talk about Facebook, for example, HDFC web login, the page remains same for everyone, for all the users. Everyone opens that, the same page, right? HDFC, that's static. Or if you take Gmail homepage, or if you take any like homepage. But here in JavaScript, for example, once you enter, right, or once you enter into Facebook, all the users, you won't be seeing the same thing, right? Different. The pages are going to be different. Content is going to be different. So you'll be getting some different responses, right? Okay. So generally, JavaScript also used for kind of validations. If you want to perform source of dynamic content and for validations, okay, we go for that. If I come to this, okay, Bootstrap also the same thing, but backend, if I go to this language, framework, and database framework, maximum it is going to provide the entire 70% of the work is done by that framework. And remaining, you are going to write some business logics and fetching data from this database, right? Or fetching or interacting with the database. We need to configure and we need to write some code for those. Without a database, there won't be any web application. Compulsory database required for any web application. If compulsory database is required, what all the details or the data need to be stored at the backend database. For example, if you're once you enter login and password, once you are entering into a web page by providing your login and password details, that also need to be stored in the database. Once it will, whenever you go to any web page, right, it will ask for registration and login. Once you get registered, the registration form, whatever is stored in the database backend, tomorrow, like once you log in, whether you are providing the correct details, it will be validated, and then you can enter into that, right? Everything are going to be stored in the database. So again, here we've got two types of applications, right? Within this web applications, right, we have got two types of applications. Normal web app, see here, 1 second. Web application, enterprise application. Web application, enterprise application. Okay. Difference between web and enterprise application is, for example, any like Facebook or Gmail, anything, any web application, if you take like Gmail, facebook.com, right? These things. Enterprise application means like business oriented or business specific, organization specific. This is what everyone like common to public, but enterprise application specific to a particular organization or a specific organization, right? For example, particular bank application, HDFC, like bank application. banking related or telecom related or insurance related. Okay, in this way, banking related, telecom or insurance, this kind of, and this is enterprise applications. This we call it as we call them as superior applications. So strong support is required for here. Strong support is required for this enterprise applications, right? Today I'll show you one web application, right? Today just I'll show you sample web application. So for example, web application, any e-commerce website like Amazon, Flipkart, all these e-commerce websites, e-commerce website like Amazon, Flipkart, all this comes as web application. Okay, so now observe. So how this, what happens internally? First, for example, generally how you enter into a web application. Generally, now we will be designing web applications. I am saying that we will be going with 25 to 30 web applications will be designing. So first, what is the process? First, this is your web browser. Web browser. Chrome, for example, web browser. What is that? Chrome browser or Mozilla, whatever you use. The client enters some URL. You will enter some URL, like whatever URL you are providing, right? URL means like facebook.com, gmail.com, other your business or organization related URL you will be specifying. First, the URL, first where it goes. See, you will be having a file. First, whether you are entering the correct URLs or not, whether you are entering the correct URL or not, to validate, we have got URL dispatcher, urls.py. There is a file, urls.py file. In this file, you will be specifying all like URLs, URL1, URL2, any URLs, URL3. You will be specifying that URLs. So the entered URL, if it is matching with any one of these, if your entered URL is matching any of this present in urls.py, then the request, your request is forwarded to views. There is one more, views, right? Within there is a file like views.py also, right? So we have got many Python files. We have got some structure, right? So if I talk about, okay, later I'll be discussing in brief one by one. So whenever you create your project, right? Okay. Project, this is your project, right? This is your project. Within the project, within this project name, you will see two folders mainly. Again, inner project folder will be there, right? Outer project folder will be there. Sorry, inner project is that, and your application folder, application folder. So generally the main, you'll be having some kind of files here within this project. urls.py, whatever the URLs were specifying on the web browser, that URL and this, what are the URLs specified in this, if they are matching. And here settings.py, there will be one more file like settings.py file. Any like database settings or any kind of, if you're using some kind of images, static files, template files, HTML files, any kind of settings that you will be just configuring this .py file, and the user, the end user, or the client, whatever URL is specifies that should be matched with the URL specified in this, right? And application folder, mainly we'll have a file called views.py. Views.py means, like, we will write functions. We will write a function or a class. Within that function or a class, we will write the business logic within this. We'll write what? Business logic within this. Understand this structure? Whenever you are creating a project, that inner project folder and application folder too will be created. Okay. Next, if you want to write some business logic, the function or class, right? Okay. And if you want to write any kind of HTML pages, there will be one more folder called templates. Templates. For HTML. Okay. Any kind of HTML files will be stored in this, right? HTML files. Okay. So whenever the user gives request, the request goes to URLs file, checks whether the URL, the specified URL is present or not. If present, the request will be forwarded to views. From views, if you want any database related, right? Database related, it fetches the database. It fetches the data. And views next, then what it takes the help of this HTML templates, provides the response. This response, HTML response, you can see on the web page. Whenever any request, the request first it will check for urls.py. From there it goes to views. From views to any database related things. If you want the response, it is going to get the response in HTML format displayed on this, right? So in a clear format, once again I show you, right? Model view template, right? Model view template, MVT. Browser, specifying some URL, client. From here it will go to urls.py. From there the request goes to views. So if it doesn't, okay, here it's a database. So if it doesn't want any database related things, directly here template. Directly view can give a response to this template. From template you can see that response to the class. Response, right? So directly from urls.py, and from the request goes to view. From view to see VMVT. First from view to directly it can give the response. Otherwise, if you want anything related to database related, again the request goes Through model, it will go to the database. Request goes to this. Request goes to this. From there, from database, you are going to fetch the data response. From there, it will go to this response. From there, it will go to template. From template to back. Right? In this way, the response it moves. Just I'll show you a small like web application now to make you understand that. Still we have got a lot of things to be discussed, but today I'll be just showing you one web application. So in tomorrow's session, I'll be showing you the installation process, how to do what is that ID you want to install, the other things. Okay, in tomorrow's session I'll say. Fine. So I'm going to use Autumn ID. I'm going to show you Autumn ID. First I'm on Autumn ID. Fine. So before that, let me show you. I'm going to create a folder in my in C drive. DJANGO apps folder is there, right? Within this DJANGO apps, I'll store all my projects. DJANGO apps. Now also I'll be storing in this DJANGO apps folder. In this DJANGO apps, I've already created virtually, like Python is available in this, right? Within the scripts folder, you can see that all these commands, right? So DJANGO activations or virtual environment activation, everything you can see within this. Okay. Once again, see the path, DJANGO apps folder. Within that, we have got my virtual env, my virtual environments. Virtually, Python also installed in this folder. In the scripts folder, you can see that activate if you want to activate it, right? So later I'll show you this process, right? During the installation, what are all this, but so file, new file, demo application, right? One demo application, demo app. Step 1. So first we need to activate the virtual environment. Activate virtual environment, right? What is this activating virtual environment means? Python installed virtually in one particular folder, and within that folder only I'm going to store all my applications, everything, right? If I perform any modifications, changes, it should not affect the original Python, but there are two copies of Python, one originally installed in my system and second copy is this virtual environment, right? So later I'll just brief you once again during the installation, right? Okay, now I'll go to the command prompt. Before I go to the command prompt, I'll open any ID like Autumn ID. So here I got an Autumn ID. Autumn ID. Tomorrow also I'll just show you like how to okay. Already some projects are available. Okay. I'll go to the command prompt. Step by step, I'm writing here, activate virtual environment. How to activate virtual environment means I created a folder, DJANGO apps. Within this DJANGO apps folder, all my DJANGO applications I'm going to store, and also virtually Python is available here. So cd DJANGO apps. Within that DJANGO apps, my virtual environment is available. Within that my virtual environment, I've got scripts folder, what we see in Python, the same scripts folder. Enter and say activate. Whenever I say activate, yes, you can see this my virtual environment, right? Okay. So this is the process of just activating the virtual environment. Step 1. Step 2, what is step 2 means? Creating or starting a project. Creating, step 2. So creating or starting a project. Creating or starting a project, right? Okay. The command, okay. Generally, within the Django apps, I need to create the project. Within the Django apps, my project, everything need to be created. So I need to come out of this scripts and my virtual environment, right? The cd dot, right? I came out of this scripts. Again, you say cd dot, I'll come out of this, right? Okay. Now I'm in the Django apps. Now I need to create a project folder. Whatever my project, you can give any name, right? So the command for creating a project, creating or starting a project is, so the command Django -admin, Django -admin, start project, my project one. What is that? My project one is my project name, right? Enter, right? So I'm copying this. Come out of this. Okay. Okay. Come out of this scripts folder, come out of this my virtual in the Django apps folder, try to create this project. Check it whether your project created or not. Go and check in your Atom ID. My project one, are you able to see here? My project one. Okay, my project one, you can see here, right? Okay. If you open this my project one, you will see some default files, settings.py, urls.py. Okay, WSGI, right? We are going to see some .py files. Project folder is created. If you want to see what are the files present in this, by default you will get some files along with this project folder. So if you want to see them, first cd enter into this my project one, enter into my project one, right? Okay, I am into the project one folder now. There is a command like if you want to see tree/f, right? It will show all that files. So my project one, settings.py, urls.py, these are the default files you are going to get along with the project folder. If you say tree/f, you will see what all the files present within the project folder. That is step 2. Just this is the command for creating a project folder. You need to understand this. Step 3. So for every project, for every project, the first 3-4 steps are going to be the common. So first 1 or 2 applications, you may feel something new, but once we are done with 3-4 applications, okay, the 4 steps going to be the same. Step 3, right? Step 3 is what? Creating an application, creating or starting application, creating or starting a application, right? Okay. The command, so whatever you want to do now, everything you want to perform from this my project to folder only. So my project to folder is created. Within that project to folder only, applications creations or running the server, everything should happen within this, right? So what I will do, command for creating a application, python manage.py start app application name demo application, my application name, that's it. It gets created. Go and check. This is the command python manage.py start app demo app. So these things you need to understand, how to create a project, how to create a application folder, right? These are the commands. Okay. Check it, demo application created or not. Go to the atom id. Can you see demo app? Can you see a demo app here, right? Demo app. Within the demo app, you can see like views.py available. Many .py files are available. We will be discussing one by one during our process, right? But the first one within the demo application, the first one views.py is available, right? Okay. Next, step 4. Step 4 is, okay, your project folder created, application folder created. urls.py. Go to urls.py within the project folder. It is present within the project folder. Go to urls.py within the project folder. And specify the URLs. Specify the URLs, right? Okay. I'll go to the urls.py file. I'll go to the urls.py present in the project folder. Within the project folder, urls.py. Okay, this is what. So this entire comment, it's already inbuilt, right? I said the framework, it automatically performs 70% of that work. I'll remove this comment. I'll remove this entire comment, right? So I'll specify, there is already there URL pattern. Specify your URL patterns here. URL, okay, or start with, I'm giving demo, start with demo, end with demo, right? Start and regular expressions, comma. So whenever I specify this URL, what functionality to be executed, whenever this URL I specify, when the user specifies this URL on the browser, whenever you click enter, what functionality or what business logic to be executed means, immediately go to the views. There is a file called views.py. Within the views, define some input function. Within the input function, what business logic you keep, that should be executed. I'm giving the function name as input. So here, whenever this URL is given or provided, go to the views. Within that view, specify some function with the name input function, right? Okay, within this, whenever you give this URL, this views dot input views dot input function need to be executed. Okay, fine. That is the only one line I have specified. What is the URL? If I give the URL, what within the views, already views.py is available. Within that input function, we need to specify and we need to write the business logic. So whenever you are using URL, we need to import it, right? From the import statement for it from Django dot
Hello, sir.
okay, from Django dot conf dot URLs import URL. This is the statement from django.conf.urls import URL. That's it. This is the one line and this is the one line. This is the URL I'm going to specify, and this is what the import statement for it. Control S, save it, right? urls.py. This is what that things we need to specify. I'm copying it. This one, next step. So for the first one or two applications, you will feel something new, right? But later, everything will be common. Now I need go to this view. Next is what? Go to the views and specify this input define this input function and write the business logic within it. Step 4. Go to views.py. This py file already, go to views.py and define input function. Define a function and write the business logic and write the logic. Now I'll go to this ID, Atom ID, right? I'll go to this ID, right? Now if you observe, in demo application, this views.py is available. Here I need to write just like normal Python def input function. To the input function, we are supposed to give the request. It is going to take a request colon enter. If I want to write the HTML code, I can write the HTML code here. Okay. Return HTTP response. Return HTTP response. Return HTTP response. Here, if you want to write some HTML kind of things, HTML body. So within this Python code, HTML body, we want some color, BG color. Red color, text color, yellow. Body BG color, red, text is yellow, fine. Now, H1 tag. Welcome to Django world. Close H1 slash H1 slash body slash HTML, right? Okay. Okay. For this HTTP response, we need to have one import statement from django.http import HTTP response. Okay, so that's it. That's it.
Sir, what output exactly we are trying, sir?
Pardon?
What output we are trying to get, sir? With
So
this?
just I'm going to show you a small web application, right? How to create a project folder, application folder. Just I want to display some message on the web browser. That is what browser.
Okay.
So what is it? Welcome to DJANGO world. That is what you will be displayed on the browser window, right? So just I'm writing only a little one line statement I'm writing here. That too with the color red color, text in yellow color, right? Okay. Next, step 5. Migrate. So whenever you migrate, if you got any errors in your thing, it is just going to display that. So before that, okay, just to say migrate. How to migrate? Python. So we have got some commands. You need to just first 3, 4, 4, 5 commands that are going to be common. How to create a project folder, how to create an application folder, uh, how to run the server, what is the command? Python manage.py migrate. I'm saying now I'm saying migrate. So it will display if there are any errors, right? What it is saying, name views is not defined. So just 1 second. Here we are using views, right? This views is present in the demo application. 1 second. Demo application, import views. Now again I'll say up arrow. So nothing. So everything applied. There is no errors, right? So this is the command for my. So don't see the code, right? Later I'll be explaining the code. See the process. See the process, right? Code later I'll be explaining you. Not don't worry like about the code, but just see the process. Process of creating project, application folder, URLs. Next views within that I'm specifying one function. Migrate. Next last 2 steps are there. Next step is start server. Start server, right? The command for starting the server, right? So every time Python manage.py, the same run server. This is this command. This Python manage.py run server is the command for running the server. Anytime the same command will be using, right? For running the server. Okay. Server starts. Step 7, right? Step 7. You request in the browser. You request in the browser. Okay, request in the browser means see here. I'm copying this. Whenever you start the server, run the server, right? So this is that IP address. This is the port 8000 is the port where the Django is running. I'm copying this to a separate Chrome browser and paste it. paste it. And here, what is the URL you are specified? What is the URL you are supposed to specify, right? In the urls.py, as demo is the URL that I have given. Now give that demo URL here. So whenever I give demo here, right, and say enter, whenever I say demo and say enter, right, it should give the response now. Welcome to DJANGO world. So that is what a small web application, whenever I'm giving request in the web browser, Chrome browser, it is giving, right, with a red color, yellow color font. They will come to this whatever I was specified in this views.py, right? Here I said BG color is red, text is yellow. What text? Welcome to DJANGO world. Okay. About this coding, I'll be explaining you later, but see this process, you got the output, right? Right. Demo you can give, or any other, for example, in the urls.py, instead of, I'll just copy the same thing. I'll copy the same thing. Any URLs, any number of URLs you can specify. For example, www.demo.com. Okay, fine. For this also it's going to work, right? Fine. Just specify here. www.demo.com, right? Just say enter. You'll get the output, the same output, right? Okay, demo.com means okay, giving the request here, just giving the request, getting the output, right? Means a small, that is not normally you are executing that in Python. That is not here. We are giving a request in the browser, we should get response, right? So here, what are the steps involved, right? First, we need to activate the virtual environment. This will be common for every application. Starting a project, okay, what this is the command. This is the command, static command only, right? DJANGO -admin start project, your project name. Every time your project name is going to change. The same thing. Third one is what? This everything remains same. Starting an application or creating an application, up here it's going to, only the application name is going to change here in step 3 also. In step 4 also, the URL, whatever you want to specify, that name only going to be changed. URL, what URL you want to give in the browser window. Okay. And if I give this, what is that function? Input function should execute. This input function should execute present in the views. So in the views.py, and I can write some HTML code here. That HTML code need to, that whatever that HTML code is there, that will be displayed on the web page. So that what is that in a BG background color red, text color yellow, welcome to DJANGO world need to be displayed. Whenever I just give this demo on the browser window, this input function need to be executed. It should display that welcome to DJANGO world. Whenever I say this command also common every time, migrate. If any errors are there, it will say that errors. And run the server means this is the command for running the server. And this is what the request, how you give, and whatever the URL, you need to give this URL, right? So this is what a sample web application step by step I've explained. But once if you do with one or two or three web applications, right, you will understand the same steps to be followed. Only the project name, application name, the URL name is going to be changed. Remaining everything remains same, and your logic is going to be changed, right? Understood, everyone? So
Yes, sir.
so I'll show you the installation process tomorrow. If you want, you people can do parallelly along with me, and I'll show you the output. You can parallelly do along with me. So what you people can do, you just install okay, go to this Chrome. See that Python install in your system. See that Python is installed in your system. Go to www.atom.io, www.atom.io. So this Atom ID download. download this, right? Whenever you say download option you will get, right? 190 MB, right? 190 MB, download it. After downloading, right, click it and try to install it. After installing, you will get this screen like this. Just try to install by yourself if you are facing any problem. So whenever you download it and just install it. Tomorrow I'll show you the other process, right? So you'll be getting a screen like this. You'll get a screen like this, autumn screen. Just leave it as it is. I'll show you the rest of the process tomorrow. First, you understand the terminologies. I'll make you everyone execute with one web application first. Later, I'll come with the architecture, MBT architecture. I'll be discussing first. One or two applications I'll be showing you. Later, I'll be coming with architecture, MBT architecture, the other things. Just autumn is autumn ID. This autumn is an ID, right? So, and how to install DJANGO. Tomorrow, my discussion will be on installation of DJANGO, right? Step by step, everyone you can install parallelly. Otherwise, you can install later, right? Okay, fine. Okay, that is one ID, and also you can just install one more ID, right? One more ID, right? Okay, just first install this ID, and tomorrow I'll show you one more application, right? So okay, you can understand the things better with one or two applications, right? So any queries you have got as part of today's session? Anyone? So what are the steps involved in creating a project? So here we have got like 6 to 7 steps, right? How to start a server, how to give the request, how to create a project folder, how to create application folder, the same steps. Yes, you will be getting the video, right? You will be getting the video, right? So don't feel something new here. So after one or two or three applications, everybody will come to understand what is this py files, what is that project folder, application folder, views folder, views.py, urls.py, starting server, giving request in the browser, right? Okay. So I'll stop here. We'll continue tomorrow, same time at 8 o'clock. We'll see more on this. Okay. So just tomorrow we'll be seeing the things, right? Just today I've just showed you a sample program, right? So don't worry if you are not understood. So in the coming sessions, step by step, I'll be showing you. I'll make you understand the things. Just how a web application, yesterday some of you were asking, right? That to show one web application, the sample web application that I was showing you. If you are not understood, still not a problem. So I want you people to go parallelly along with me. If you're able to do along with me, like hands-on, right? In the coming sessions, right? Installations and the web applications creations, you can go parallel along with me, right? If you've got any errors or if you got struck up, you can share your screens, right? Fine. Tomorrow I'll show you the installation process. If possible, everyone try to do parallelly along with me, right? So that one thing, Django is not a kind of this framework or applications creations is not like Python. Just by listening, you are going to get. If you are doing parallelly, or if you are doing the application, you will try to understand what is that, right? Fine. So either you do parallelly along with me tomorrow, or the installations, other things, you'll understand much better. Right. I'm stopping here. We'll continue tomorrow, right? Okay.
Okay, that.